Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
So check it out. The D6 Squad has merch now. We got hoodies, tees, mugs, whatever you need. Check it out. Link in the description. What's going on YouTube? Diggy546. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new. Like the video if you like the video. And I won't tell if you click that bell. But let's go ahead and get into this. So I'm seeing a lot of news on Twitter. At first it was kind of just rumbling, so I didn't really want to make a video on it. Now I'm seeing it on, Instagram. I'm seeing it, from pretty reputable Instagram and Twitter pages that I kind of trust. I think Jason Lockenfora also reported on this. It's looking like my number one free agency target by far, Kenny Golladay, is probably going to be franchise tagged. Now, what does this mean? This means that we're kind of screwed because Allen Robinson, receiver for the Bears, Allen Robinson, he is the number one receiver in free agency, and he's played with Blake Bortles. He's played with some other bad quarterbacks in Jacksonville. He's played with Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky, and I'm pretty sure he played with the backup to Trubisky a couple of years ago. But there really is nothing. There's nothing really great that Allen Robinson has gotten to play with, and I think he wants to play with that elite kind of style quarterback, and we can't really provide him with that. Now, mind you, Daniel Jones might go out this year and throw like 35 touchdowns and have a great season. But for right now, what's on his resume, it doesn't really show as a top flight quarterback in the NFL that Allen Robinson is probably looking for. He's probably looking for that. He's probably looking for a team that can compete, go to a Super Bowl because he hasn't done much winning. And he's also probably looking for money. If he's not getting the other two, he needs money. And the Giants, they'll be able to move the cap space around to be able to give people money. But I don't think they'll be able to bid. If it's just about money, then the Jets will be in the discussion. The Jacksonville Jaguars, will be in the discussion to bring him back. Because those teams would have a lot of cap space in normal years. And they're already, $70 million they have in cap space to spend, in a down year. So they really have money to throw around like nothing. So I cannot see Allen Robinson coming here. I really can't. I don't see him coming here from the situation, the quarterback situation, and the money. I just don't see it. And then when you look at the fact that Kenny Golladay may be franchise tagged, I really think, I said it, it seems like we're screwed because we needed a receiver to come in here that was experienced, that would be able to be an immediate playmaker, with no doubt, and he's the immediate number one receiver. Now, we might get that in the draft, but that's a might, and that usually never happens. Usually week one, you don't have, the top receiver. He's not his best week one, week two, week three, and he might not be that dominant rookie receiver until his, week 4, week 5, when we don't really have that time. This Giants team has to hit the ground running on all cylinders week 1. This is the year that Daniel Jones needs to take the next step forward. This is the year where Joe Judge needs to show that he can take this team from 6-10 last year, which is good for what the Giants have been, at recently. But take the team from 6-10 and take that 6-10 team and get them, to a 10-win team. Now we're going to have the extra game. We're going to have that extra game, and we'll have a chance, we'll have more of a chance to get the 10 wins. So a 10-win season will be more like a 9-win season. But Joe Judge has got to get this team to the next level, and specifically Daniel Jones has to. Now, I'm holding Daniel Jones accountable. Whatever he does this year is on Daniel Jones. Yes, the offensive scheme is horrible. It's terrible. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I really wouldn't. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. The offensive scheme does not use players to their strength. And it really hurts the Giants, every week. We were 31st in the league, and we didn't have dominant number one receivers, but we had weapons. But all that aside, Daniel Jones still has to prove that he is that guy. He has to prove that, because if he needs everything around him to be perfect, then he's probably not the guy that's going to get you over the hump to a Super Bowl. So no matter what, he needs to step up. Moving on to what I think about the free agency wide receivers besides Kenny Golladay and Allen Robinson, who I think were the only bona fide number one receivers. Just, sign them and don't think about it. Curtis Samuel is now my number one option if Kenny Golladay isn't on the market. Curtis Samuel is a guy who ran a 4.31, so he's got the speed. He's about 5'10". We've seen Fitz Vegas. We've seen Fireside Giants bang the drums on Curtis Samuel. He's a guy that could come in and be a playmaker for us if we were able to use him creatively. And that's the big question about Jason Garrett. Can we use him creatively? He's a guy that can play running back. He's a guy that can, get the ball in open space. And that's not something we did for Golden Tate. So will Jason Garrett use him properly? I have no idea. But even if he doesn't, I think Curtis Samuel provides more of a threat just because of his raw speed. He's not going to be expensive. And I think it'll be a good deal. I mean, we could probably get him somewhere from 8 to 12 million a year, and I would be satisfied with that. So Curtis Samuel is who I'm looking at first. If we do not get Curtis Samuel, it'll more than likely be Corey Davis. Now, Corey Davis to me is not much different than what we thought Darius Slayton would be this upcoming year. Now, they're both, in that 700 to 900 yard territory their last year. And that's just where they are. They need that dominant number one receiver across from them to demand coverage away from them so they can get those one-on-ones and get less attention. They need a lot of things. They need a running game, which we should have next year with Saquon and this improved offensive line. They need a lot. They really do. So I don't know if I want Corey Davis because we have someone who's kind of redundant with him and Darius Slayton, but I do think he's a better player than Darius Slayton. So Corey Davis would be on the map. Maybe people like Nelson Aguilar, who I'm not the biggest fan of because I just have the Eagles flashbacks of what he is. Chris Godwin, to me, is probably a better receiver than the last two receivers that I talked about, but I'm pretty sure the Tampa Bay is going to look to bring him back. And, he's a slot receiver. And, he can be a number one receiver out of the slot, and he could be a number one receiver on the outside, but I just don't necessarily want to go in that direction. I more would prefer, trying to get Samuel, have him move in and out, than to pay Chris Godwin, like $8-9 million more. Now, when you look at the draft, I'll make a more in detail, kind of video about what's going on with Devontae Smith. But if Devontae Smith is there, I'm taking him. All this noise about, his weight and stuff is hogwash. Yes, he may suffer some injuries. That might just happen. But we need the best playmaker in this draft, and Jamar Chase is going to be gone. Jalen Waddle may be gone. And Devontae Smith, if he's there, I feel like you got to take him. Now, if you don't take Devontae Smith, if he's off the board too, you got to take Rashad Bateman. If you don't take Rashad Bateman, you got to take Kyle Pitts. Because if you don't get that number one bona fide receiver in free agency, you have to get it somewhere else. And the only other place you can get it is the draft. So we have to be targeting the best receiver on the board. If we have to trade back to get Rashad Bateman, if we got to go back to 15 and, take Rashad Bateman, or we got to go back to 15 and take Kyle Pitts, whatever the best weapon on the board is, we need to take if we're not able to get Kenny Golladay. Now, in the perfect situation, if we were to get Kenny Golladay, that would just be perfect. So we have Kenny Golladay. Going into the draft, we can take any one of the two corners. We can take the tackle, Rashawn Slater, to be across from Andrew Thomas. We can go a lot of different directions if we already have that receiver spot, locked up. But if not, we need to really be targeting a receiver. It's no bones about it. Next year, if we go into this next season with just Curtis Samuel added and some fourth round receiver, I'm calling it a failure. So you guys let me know what you think of this situation. Kenny Golladay probably will not be here. He probably will be back in Detroit to give Jared Goff, a number one target. So you guys let me know what you think. So if you made it this deep into the video, I'm calling you a D6 Squad member. If you're a D6 Squad member, you got to hit that subscribe button. You got to turn on that notification bell. And listen, I make all kinds of content for NFL teams. So if you're not a Giants fan, don't worry. I'll cover your team. If I'm not covering your team, let me know, and have a good one.